Hello everyone and welcome back to Classic Comics. I recently came across a website, www.starwars.com. That's Star Wars with a Z at the end. This website has several drafts of the screenplays of the Star Wars films, including several versions of Episode 4. I thought it would be an interesting exercise to compare these and highlight how the story changed over the various different versions. Lucas has stated that he went through a number of different versions of the story before creating the story we all know from the original 1977 film. But how did he arrive at that point where he felt he had gotten the story right? I'll examine these different versions to point out the differences in each one, to show the changes that were made to arrive at the original Star Wars film we know. The first version I'll go over is titled Star Wars Story Synopsis, which is dated May 1973. This is apparently a transcript of the first document that George Lucas made when scripting out the story for Star Wars. In fact, since this is a story treatment rather than a full screenplay, I'll just read it and examine the differences afterwards. We begin in deep space. An eerie blue-green planet called Aqualay slowly drifts into view. A small speck orbiting the planet glints in the light of a nearby star. Suddenly, a sleek fighter settles ominously into the foreground, moving swiftly towards the orbiting speck. Two more fighters maneuver into formation behind the first, and then three more glide into view. The orbiting speck is actually a gargantuan space fortress, which dwarfs the approaching fighters. The six fighters break off into a power dive attack on the fortress. Laser bolts streak from the fighters, creating explosions on the complex surface of the fort. Return fire catches one of the fighters and it bursts into 1,000,000 pieces. Another of the craft plows into a gun emplacement jutting from the fortress, causing a hideous series of explosions. The chaos of battle echoes through the vastness of space. It is the 33rd century, a time of civil war in the galaxy. A rebel princess with her family, her retainers, and the clan treasure is being pursued. If they can cross territory controlled by the Empire and reach a friendly planet, they will be saved. The Sovereign knows this and posts a reward for the capture of the princess. She is being guarded by one of her generals, Luke Skywalker, and it is he who leads her on the long and dangerous journey that follows. They take along with them 200 pounds of the greatly treasured aura spice, and also two Imperial bureaucrats whom the general has captured. The two terrified bureaucrats crash land on Aqualay while trying to flee the battle of the space fortress. They accidentally discover a small container of the priceless aura spice, and are looking for more when they are discovered by Luke Skywalker and taken to his camp. It doesn't take them too long to realize the general isn't a mere farmer, and that they are captives about to embark on a dangerous mission. The two bureaucrats are essentially comedy relief inserted into the general seriousness of the adventure. The small group in their sleek two-man land speeders travel across the wastelands of Aqualay, headed for the spaceport city of Gordon, where they hope to get a spacecraft that will take them to the friendly planet of Ofuchi. At a desolate rest stop, the rebels are stopped and questioned by an Imperial patrol. Apparently satisfied, the captain lets the group continue on their way. But a short distance into the wilderness, they are attacked by the patrol. The Imperial patrol of 12 men is no match for the incredibly skilled and powerful general who makes short work of the enemy. They drive into a storm and run low on food and water, but eventually make it to the ruin of a religious temple. In the temple, they discover a rebel band of teenaged boys who are planning an attack on one of the Imperial outposts. The boys laugh in anticipation of the blow they will strike to the Empire in the name of the princess. Skywalker is amused at the idealism of the youths. The contrast between the boys with their terse nods and meaningful glances and Skywalker, a real general, could not be greater. The boys plead to join the party to protect the princess, but the general refuses and insists they all return to their homes. They say they have no place to go and begin to follow the party across the wasteland. One night the party is attacked by one of the large beasts that roam the plains and is killed by the boy rebels. the general reluctantly accepts the presence of the boys and allows them to join the group. The general, one of the bureaucrats, and one of the boys venture to a shabby cantina on the outskirts of the spaceport, looking for the rebel contact who will help them get a spacecraft. The murky little den is filled with a startling array of weird and exotic aliens laughing and drinking at the bar. The bureaucrat and the boy are terrified as the general orders 2 drinks and questions the bartender about the rebel contact man. A group of bullies begins to taunt and ridicule the boy. Skywalker attempts to avoid a confrontation, but worse comes to worse, and he is forced to fight. With a flash of light, his laser sword is out. An arm lies on the ground. One of the bullies lies double slashed from chin to groin, and Skywalker, with quiet dignity, replaces his sword in its sheath. The entire fight has lasted a matter of seconds. Skywalker, the princess, and their party make contact with the rebel underground, but not before an Imperial spy who followed them from the cantina reports their plan to the city governor. The rebels enter the spaceport to board a trader's ship whose captain is friendly towards the rebels. The group doesn't realize until too late that it's a trap. Guards pounce on them from everywhere. The princess, the bureaucrats, and the boys run for a ship while Skywalker holds off the guards. They narrowly escape in a stolen spaceship and lose themselves among the giant Imperial fleet looking for the rebels. The general orbits his ship further and further away from the planet until he feels it is safe to head out into deep space toward Ofuchi. As he maneuvers to break orbit, a patrol craft hails the ship and requests to board and search her. Skywalker makes a run for it, and the patrol craft fires on them. The rebels return fire and destroy the patrol craft. The stolen Imperial ship races toward the safety of deep space as 12 fighter craft converge on the destroyed patrol and give chase. A raging air-to-air battle and chase begins, which continues across the galaxy. The rebel boys shoot down many Imperial ships under the guidance of the general. A few of the boys are angered at his direction, but they grow to respect him when they see the results of his training. Their ship is hit several times and begins to break up, causing them to seek shelter inside an asteroid to hide from their pursuers. The trick works, but as they resume their trek across the galaxy, the ship is rocked by a series of explosions and plummets toward the forbidden planet of Yavin. Everyone jettisons safely from the doomed craft before it explodes, and using rocket packs, they slowly drift to the foreboding surface. The general, the princess, and the 2 bureaucrats with the aura spice and one of the rebel boys regroup and set up camp. When only one other boy shows up, the group decides to split up. The general, princess, and bureaucrats head for what appears to be a city, while the 2 boys go off looking for their comrades. They are watched by a giant furry alien who quietly disappears back into the foliage. Skywalker and his party race along a narrow path riding jet sticks, fashioned from their rocket packs. They round a bend and see the way is blocked by 3 or 4 aliens riding large bird-like creatures. The general instantly changes direction onto a side path, and the others follow close behind. Skywalker drops behind the others and begins shooting at the aliens with his laser gun. The general kills the last alien just as he reaches the gate to the alien camp. Skywalker cannot curb his jet stick in time, and the momentum carries him directly into the enemy's hands. The group is surrounded by aliens. Skywalker jumps off his jet stick and takes a defensive stance. The aliens give him room. They seem puzzled by these new intruders and jabber to themselves. 2 leaders carry out a heated argument. Finally, one storms off in disgust, and the other summons a guard who steps forward with a large spear in his hand. Skywalker and the alien stand surveying each other. The alien makes a lunge, the general counters, and the fight begins. A desperate fight ensues, but eventually Skywalker wins by cutting the alien in half with his laser sword. At this, all the aliens are worked into a frenzied mob, carrying the general off and throwing him over a 1,000-foot crevasse into a boiling lake. The general's certain death terrifies the bureaucrats and moves the princess. The aliens lead them to a small hut where they are imprisoned. Unknown to everyone, the general grabs an overhanging vine on his descent and swings to safety. He starts back to rescue the others when he encounters an alien. Skywalker starts to attack, but the alien drops to the ground, jabbering and carrying on. The general recognizes the alien as the one who argued with the leader who ordered his death. The general tries to communicate with the alien, but all he can make out is that the creature worships him and wants to take him someplace urgently. The alien leads Skywalker to a clearing where a platoon of the Imperial Guard is lounging, obviously waiting for someone or something. The general jumps under cover as a herd of aliens arrive with the princess and the bureaucrats in tow. A trade is made and the platoon leaves in a speeder tank with the 3 captives. The general tries to follow but is unable to keep up. The alien leads Skywalker to a small farm where he discovers the boy rebels are waiting for him. The farm is owned by a cantankerous old farmer. He tells the group that he hates the Empire and shows them the location of an outpost where they might have taken the princess. They use surprise and the general's training to overcome the enemy and capture the outpost. They discover the princess has been taken to Alderaan, the capital of the Empire. They make plans to rescue the princess from right under the nose of the Emperor. The only craft at the outpost capable of intergalactic travel is a squadron of small one-man fighters, which the general trains the kids to use. When they feel they're ready, they strike out toward the center of the galaxy and the heart of the Empire. Disguised as Imperial Rangers, the small armada flies through the gates of the impressive city planet of Alderaan and stops at the prison complex. After overcoming a series of difficult barriers and traps, they find the princess and free her. An alarm sounds. The rebels are forced to fight their way out of the prison with multiple laser guns and swords. A few of the boys are killed along the way, but most of them make it to their spacecraft, followed by Skywalker and the princess. They break through a ring of Imperial ships attempting to stop them and escape into deep space. The princess's arrival on Ophuchi is celebrated by a huge parade honoring the general and his small band. The princess's uncle, the ruler of Ophuchi, rewards the bureaucrats, who for the first time see the princess revealed as her true goddess-like self. The general commissions the boy rebels into the princess's special guard. After the ceremony is over and the festivities have ended, the drunken bureaucrats stagger down an empty street, arm in arm, realizing that they have been adventuring with demigods. The end? ? So, having read the synopsis, some things definitely stand out due to their absence. The main thing I notice is that there is no reference in the story to the Jedi, to the Sith, or even to the Force. It seems Lucas hadn't come up with that concept yet. The character of Luke Skywalker is present, but he's a very different character, an experienced general who serves the family of the princess. The princess goes unnamed in the synopsis. In fact, none of the characters get names aside from General Skywalker. And instead of the Death Star plans, there's no mention of the Death Star either, by the way. She has a shipment of Aura Spice. There's no mention of what it does, but Lucas surely got the idea for the Aura Spice from Dune, so I would guess that the spice gave the user some sort of psychic power, but that's just a guess. The 2 bureaucrats are the characters that eventually would become R2 and 3PO, but they're human here, and the script portrays them as quite untrustworthy. There's no opening chase scene with the princess's ship fleeing from a Star Destroyer over Tatooine. Instead, we start on the world of Aquilay, which is clearly the world Tatooine would become, as that's where the cantina is, as well as the spaceport. Also, while the synopsis mentions meeting a traitor, there's no mention of Han Solo by name or Chewie for that matter. Another big difference is the group of teens who they meet at the abandoned temple and who tag along during the journey. One of them is bullied in the cantina and is obviously the character that would eventually become Luke. The space battle seems similar to when the heroes escaped the Death Star in A New Hope, and the scene of them hiding in the asteroid would be dropped but then returned in Empire Strikes Back. However, the story really goes in a different direction when they arrive on Yavin. Riding the jet sticks through the forest seems very similar to the speeder bike chase in Return of the Jedi. The big furry aliens are obviously an early version of Wookiees. Skywalker's duel with the alien, and really most of this part of the story has little connection to the version released in theaters. In this version, the princess is captured and taken to the city world of Alderaan, which is the capital of the Empire. Clearly, Alderaan would eventually become split into different worlds, both Leia's homeworld and Coruscant, as well as the Death Star. The rescue of the princess, escape from the prison, and the escape from the city planet eventually gets moved to the Death Star. Finally, the celebration at the end would be much more subdued in A New Hope and seems more like the parade at the end of The Phantom Menace. At this point, Lucas's idea for a space adventure was clearly very roughly formed. Aside from General Skywalker, the other characters are really just placeholders rather than fully formed characters. and the philosophy and spiritual dimensions of the story haven't really been brought into the narrative yet. But many of the plot elements from the synopsis would make it through the various rewrites, such as the princess on the run, the two bickering comic relief characters, a veteran warrior, a teenage boy who wants to strike a blow against the Empire, the cantina, the spaceport. The story starts on a world that is a barren wasteland and rescuing the princess from a prison complex. It's the middle act of the story that is most different. Most of that material would get dropped in subsequent versions. The first actual screenplay of Star Wars is dated from May 1974. I'll take a look at that one and have a video on that sometime in the near future. Let me know what you thought of this video. Did you like this exploration of Lucas's early version of Star Wars? Did you like the story and think there are things that were dropped from this version that should have been kept? Let me know in the comments. Also, please like this video, and please do sub to the channel and hit the bell for notifications, and I will see you all next time. Thanks for watching.